It was 2:00 a.m. Liam sat on the edge of his bed, staring at the ceiling fan spinning slowly above him. His phone rested in his hand, heavy though it weighed almost nothing. The screen glowed faintly in the dark, illuminating the gallery of his photos. Picture after picture filled the screen. Coffee shop smiles, long walks at sunset, goofy faces in the library, little moments that once felt eternal. To anyone else, they were snapshots of a happy couple. To Liam, tonight, they were proof of time he could never get back. The pictures almost mocked him. In one, Emily leaned against his shoulder at a street fair, cotton candy in her hand, laughing so hard her eyes closed. In another, she held up a silly sketch she'd drawn of him. The lines crooked but full of love. There were videos too, her humming while painting, him clumsily making pancakes as she giggled behind the camera. He used to think these were the building blocks of forever. But now, with his room silent and his heart aching, they felt like remnants of a life that had slipped away without warning. And for the first time in months, Liam whispered to himself, "I wasted it. I wasted 2 years." But the night wasn't only about grief. Something deeper stirred in him that he couldn't quite name yet. He remembered the beginning. It had been sophomore year. The library was unusually crowded that day, but Liam had tucked himself into a corner with his laptop. He was working on a coding assignment, eyes glued to the screen, when he noticed her. Emily. She sat just across the aisle, sketchbook open, earbuds in, humming softly as she drew. Strands of her brown hair fell across her face, and every now and then she tucked them behind her ear with an unconscious grace. Liam tried to look away, but couldn't. There was something calming about the way she moved her pencil across the page, as if the whole world had slowed for her. He passed her table twice before finally summoning the courage to speak. "Hey," he said awkwardly, pointing at her drawing. That's really good." Emily looked up, surprised, then gave a smile that would stay with him forever. "Thanks," she said, almost shyly. "Just doodling." That smile became the beginning of everything. They started talking in the library, then over coffee, then during long walks around campus. Hours of conversation spilled into days, weeks, months. Liam found himself rearranging his schedule just to see her. He skipped the gym. He pushed off assignments. His world, once organized and disciplined, began to orbit around Emily. It felt worth it. He told himself this was love, the kind of love people write stories about. He had friends who said they envied what he had, and maybe they were right. For a while, he felt like the luckiest man alive. But love has a quiet way of asking for things without words. Emily never demanded much. She never said, "Give up this," or "Stop doing that." She only wanted his time, and Liam gave it all. He thought that's what devotion looked like. Slowly, piece by piece, he let go of the habits that once defined him. He stopped waking up early to run. He stopped building his coding portfolio, a project he had once been passionate about. He stopped networking with professors and classmates who could have opened doors for him. Instead, every free moment belonged to Emily. When she was bored, he canceled his plans. When she was upset, he stayed up until 300 a.m. comforting her. When she wanted to binge shows, he sat through seasons of them without complaint. He convinced himself success can wait. Love is all that matters now. For a time, he didn't see the danger. For a time, it felt beautiful. They had inside jokes, spontaneous adventures, even silly little arguments that ended in laughter. She made him feel alive in ways he hadn't before. But life doesn't stop moving forward just because you pause for love. Emily graduated first. She was a year ahead, and soon she landed a job in another city. They promised to make long-distance work. But the distance widened faster than either of them expected. Calls became less frequent. Texts grew shorter. When they did talk, conversations felt strained, as if both were too tired to pretend. Then one night, the phone rang, and Emily's voice carried a softness Liam hadn't heard before. "I think it's better if we end this," she said. Her voice was gentle but steady, the kind of tone that left no room for argument. "You'll always matter to me," she added, "but I need to focus on where I'm going. And maybe you should too." The line went dead, but the silence in Liam's room roared louder than anything he'd ever heard. He stared at his phone for hours that night, replaying her words over and over. He wanted to be angry. He wanted to hate her. But deep down he couldn't. Because she wasn't wrong. And now, months later, at 2:00 a.m., sitting alone in his dimly lit room, Liam finally admitted the truth to himself. His grades had slipped. His resume was empty. His friends had moved on without him. His bank account was nearly drained. He had sacrificed his future for a love that didn't last. The weight of regret pressed down on him until he thought he might suffocate. He buried his face in his hands and whispered into the darkness, "I wasted it. I wasted 2 years." But then, almost as if his mind wanted to protect him from drowning in despair, another thought flickered across his mind. Or maybe I can still change. The idea was fragile, like a flame in the wind, but it was there. At 20:15 a.m., with trembling hands, Liam pulled a notebook from his drawer. The cover was dusty, abandoned months ago when he'd stopped journaling. He flipped it open to a blank page, clicked his pen, and began to write. At the top of the page he scrawled, "What I will do differently now. 1. Rebuild habits, wake up early, exercise, study 1 hour daily. 2. Set boundaries, never give all my time away again, balance relationships with personal growth. 3. Work on skills, coding, portfolio, online projects, internships. 4. Reconnect with people, rebuild friendships, find mentors, join study groups. 5. Self-respect first, no relationship should cost me my future." When he set the pen down, his chest still ached. His heart was still broken. But for the first time in months, he felt a sliver of control return to him. The next morning wasn't easy. He was tired, his eyes heavy, his body drained. But he pushed himself out of bed, laced up his sneakers, and went for a short jog. His legs felt stiff, his lungs burned, but each step whispered, "You're starting again." He came back sweaty, made scrambled eggs instead of ordering takeout, and sat at his desk to code for 45 minutes. They were tiny steps, insignificant compared to the mountain ahead, but they were progress. And progress felt like oxygen. That night, when he lay down in bed, he felt different. The ache of Emily's absence was still there, but alongside it was something new. Hope. The days that followed weren't smooth. Starting over never is. Some mornings, Liam woke up late, his alarm blaring until he groggily silenced it. Some evenings, he stared at his laptop screen for hours, unable to type a single line of code. And there were nights when loneliness hit so hard, he almost called Emily just to hear her voice again. But every time he felt himself slipping, he remembered that notebook. What I will do differently now. It wasn't just words on paper. It was a promise to himself. Liam began with small, consistent actions. He didn't try to change everything in a single week. Instead, he built habits slowly, like laying bricks for a foundation. He exercised, he jogged 3 times a week. At first, it was barely a mile before his legs screamed. But within a month, he could run 3 miles without stopping. Studying, he forced himself to code daily, even if it was only 30 minutes. Over time, 30 minutes became 2 hours. Networking. He started reaching out to old classmates, apologizing for disappearing, asking about their projects. Some ignored him, but a few welcomed him back warmly. One night, while working late in the library, he overheard 2 students talking about a tech startup competition. His old self might have ignored it, thinking he wasn't ready. But the new Liam forced himself to walk over. "Hey," he said nervously. "I overheard you guys talking about the competition. Do you need one more person?" They hesitated for a moment, then nodded. That single decision changed everything. Of course, the ghost of Emily still lingered. One evening, he stumbled across a new picture of her online. Emily smiling with another group of friends in her new city. She looked happy, radiant even. A pang of jealousy stabbed at him, but this time, instead of spiraling into despair, he whispered to himself, "She's building her life. I need to build mine." It wasn't easy, but each time he redirected his focus, he felt a little stronger. Months passed, and the competition arrived. Liam and his teammates pitched an app idea, a platform that connected small local businesses with college students looking for part-time work. The judges were impressed. His team won 2nd place. It wasn't first, but it didn't matter. Liam walked out of that auditorium with his head held high for the first time in years. People were congratulating him, asking about his ideas, treating him like someone who mattered again. That night, back in his room, he opened his notebook and added a new line beneath his original list. He smiled to himself. For once, it felt real. Several weeks later, Liam was walking across campus when he saw her. Emily. She was back for a visit, walking with a friend, her laughter carrying through the air just like old times. For a split second, Liam froze. His heart skipped and memories rushed back. But this time, he didn't panic. He didn't turn away. When she noticed him, she gave a small, polite smile. He smiled back. "Hey," she said softly. "Hey," he replied. There was a brief silence, the kind that once would have crushed him. But now, it didn't. "You look good," Emily said kindly. "Thanks," Liam replied. "I've been working on myself." And in that moment, he realized something profound. She wasn't the reason he had fallen behind. He was. And she wasn't the reason he was rising again. He was. They exchanged a few more words, then parted ways. For the first time, Liam didn't feel shattered after seeing her. He felt free. By the end of that year, Liam's efforts began to bear fruit. He landed an internship at a software company, thanks to the portfolio he'd rebuilt. His mornings were disciplined again. Runs, healthy meals, coding practice. His social circle expanded as he joined new clubs and volunteered at events. Most importantly, he had learned to set boundaries. When he started dating again, he was honest from the beginning. "I'll care for you, I'll give you my time," he would say. "But I won't lose myself again." It wasn't arrogance. It was self-respect. A year later, Liam found himself awake again at 2:00 a.m., sitting at his desk. But this time, the scene was different. His laptop was open, code running smoothly across the screen. His walls were pinned with certificates, notes, and goals. He glanced at the old notebook, now filled with pages of progress, struggles, and victories. He thought back to that first night of heartbreak. The night he whispered, "I wasted it. I wasted 2 years." And now, he whispered something else. "I didn't waste it. I learned." Because in the end, failure had been his teacher. Heartbreak had been his wake-up call. And regret had been the fire that pushed him to rise. Liam's story isn't just about love lost. It's about what happens when we let someone else's happiness become our only purpose. Relationships matter, but so does your future. He realized success doesn't mean giving up love. It means balancing it with self-respect, boundaries, and purpose. And as he closed his notebook that night, Liam smiled. The boy who once lost himself for love was gone. The man who learned to love without losing himself had taken his place. Love is beautiful, but never give up your growth, habits, and dreams for it. The right person will want to see you succeed, not sacrifice everything.